Hey everybody, it's Charmaine again for day 3 of the Self-Care Reboot Challenge. So we're about more than halfway through. I'm super excited to share with you today's video, which is all about cleaning up your mind space. It's so funny when I brought up this title to my sister Charlene, she kept saying it sounds like MySpace. But anyway, no, it's much better than MySpace. This is your mind space that we're talking about. And what I mean by that is basically that when you think about your brain and you think about all the different thoughts you're cultivating in your brain from day to day, like they say that in one given day, you could have up to as much as something crazy like 60,000 thoughts or something like that, right? And a thought could be something even like pick up this cup, go to the store, open the store, like over 60,000 thoughts a day that we are cultivating in our mind. And so when I'm talking about a mind space, I want you to think about your mind and your brain as a sacred vessel that houses your fuel for your dreams. And your fuel for your dreams, as we kind of touched upon in the past few days, is all about your thinking and the thoughts that you are choosing to have in order to move you forward towards your goals. And so in order for you to reach a goal like feeling better at work or losing weight permanently, you want to be able to think intentionally. And in order to do that, you have to look at all the thoughts that you have in your mind right now. And this really, really matters. Like, it matters how much we pay attention to the thoughts that we cultivate every single day, because it's always how you think about your current situation, how you interpret your current circumstances and your current situation that creates your reality for you. And I know in day 1 we kind of touched upon this a little bit, how we talked about it's never your circumstances that can cause you to feel stressed, but it's always the thoughts that you have, your interpretation of the circumstance that creates stress for you. So if that were the case, like if you could consider that this is true, then wouldn't it make sense to pay attention to what we're thinking and what we're choosing to believe on a regular and consistent basis? Right? Like it just makes sense to gain consciousness and gain awareness of the thoughts that we have regularly. So the reason why in this talk I'm talking about cleaning up your mind space, the reason why I'm saying that is because if you think about it, like if you imagine that your mind is full consistently of negative thoughts or thoughts that are very judgmental, thoughts that don't serve you in any way, like if you think about that all the thoughts that are housed in your brain are thoughts like that, each single thought that you choose to keep in your mind is literally occupying space in your brain. First of all, it's occupying space in your brain, and thus it's occupying your brain's energy. Like, really think about that. Like, the more you choose to think negative thoughts or thoughts that are not helpful or thoughts that are judgmental, the more you think thoughts like this on a regular basis, the more you are draining energy from your brain on a consistent basis. So it's no wonder that when you come into work and you're thinking like, oh, this is going to be a terrible day, like they're going to give me a hard assignment and everything's going to be awful. I'll probably have to take the admission again, even though I just admitted yesterday, and first of all, like our brains are made to think that way, and there's nothing wrong for thinking in that way. It's just, and I've done this for a long time myself. I still have those thoughts. Like as a human, I still have thoughts like that. But what makes the difference in your self-care is how you choose to respond to these thoughts and how you intentionally decide to think on a consistent basis. All right, so what I want to share with you is this tool that can give you a more clear picture on what's actually going on in your mind right now and what kind of thoughts are occupying your mind space right now. So I want you to think about this if you're especially like in a quiet place and if you're free from any distractions. I want you to be very focused right now and to pay close attention to this imagery that I'm going to walk you through, okay? So I'm going to walk you through a visual exercise that has helped me take a very, very mindful approach to how I think regularly and how to clean up my thinking. All right? Like you've heard of clean eating before, right? Well, this is how to do some clean thinking, okay? So basically, let's imagine, all right, that in your mind, that you're thinking of your mind as a hotel, okay? You could think about your hotel in your mind like however you want. You could think about the name, the exterior, the color, whatever you want. It's your mind hotel, okay? Your mind space. So anyway, think about how many rooms are in the hotel. All right? And now I want you to imagine you're going through this hotel in your mind. And I want you to ask yourself, like, if each room in the hotel was a thought, okay? Like if you can imagine that every single room in the hotel is a thought, I want you to imagine how many rooms in your hotel are housing negative thoughts and how many rooms in the hotel are housing positive thoughts. Right? Like, I'm going to give you some time to think about this. You could even pause the video if you'd like. But think about this, like, on a regular, consistent basis, how much % of your mind is contributing to reinforcing negative thoughts and judgmental thoughts consistently? Like, how often are you thinking things like, why do I have to do this today? Why do I have to go to work? I wish I didn't have to do this. Like, why is everything so hard? Like, thoughts like that. You'll know it's a negative thought when you feel a negative emotion from it. Okay? Like, that's how you discern the difference. So think about how many rooms in your hotel, if you could think about a percentage maybe, how much % of your mind hotel is housing negative thoughts, like negative rooms there, and then what's left, right? Like if you think about how much of those rooms are occupied with negative thoughts, how much room is actually left for those positive thoughts, right? Those thoughts that allow you to dream, that allow you to be creative, that give you positivity and hope and love. Like how often are you telling yourself loving thoughts? Right? Like this was a hard one for me, like especially for my weight loss journey. I can tell you honestly that on a consistent basis, I think my mind hotel was full of literally like probably 90 to 95% of my mind space was full of negative thoughts, negative rooms. Like 95%, like when I was really in that time of my weight journey where everything felt so dark and everything seemed like there was no hope and like things wouldn't get better. I can really say like most of my energy in terms of how I thought about myself was dedicated to negative thoughts about myself. And that was not fun at all, right? You guys, like if you can imagine that, like it feels terrible to think about yourself in that way so often. But that's what so many of us do because we have this ingrained knee-jerk reaction in our brain that is driving us toward negativity. And that's nothing's wrong with that. It's just what our brains are wired to do for survival. Like, we're wired to look for danger. We're wired to look for potential threats or hazards. Because when we were cavemen back in the day, we had to have that ability so that we would avoid danger and we would be safe and we would survive. Right? Like, the only problem is nowadays we still have that part of our brain, the primitive brain, that has that survival instinct. So you're going to naturally look for negativity, look for potential threats, look for things that are not very positive. Like, that's what our brains are made to do. So I want, like, if you're doing this exercise and you're finding that most of the space in your mind hotel is full of negative rooms, just like what I was going through, you just have a human brain. Okay, like, it's not unusual. Like, in fact, it's very common. All right, so nothing's wrong with you for doing that. But here's where you can change. Like, here's where the difference comes in. If you want to truly practice self-care on a consistent basis and you want to change things for yourself and you want to start feeling better at work or better about your body and better in your relationships, it's possible for you to change that because your brain does not have to continue thinking those negative thoughts and believing those negative thoughts. Like, we have a primitive brain, but we also have this prefrontal cortex, like the planning evolved part of our brain that allows us to decide and allows us to accomplish our goals, and it allows us to dream and have a vision. All right? So that's the brain that we want to use. And that's available to you in this moment. So I'm going to teach you how to do this. So again, we're thinking about the mind hotel. We're thinking about how many spaces in your mind hotel are full of negative thoughts, okay? And you could even think about it like a fun thing. Like, I like to be very visual with these exercises because it really creates such a strong image to really drive the teaching, like the metaphor, very strongly. Because if you think about it, if you could pretend, like, if you have so many spaces full of negative thoughts in your mind, what kind of people are occupying those rooms in your mind hotel? Right? Like, maybe, like, the way I imagined it was like, maybe they're like criminals. Maybe they're like I know this is like kind of extreme, but it's like I would even think about them as like murderers or things like that, because you having negative thoughts are literally like dream killers. Like, and it's so true. Like, you continuing to believe negative things about yourself, like, I can't lose weight, I can't give up sugar or flour, I can't get that job I always wanted, I can't leave this job. Like, those thoughts are killing your dreams. So the key, if you want to feel better, is to decide who goes into your mind space and who you're going to kick out. Okay, like, so from this planning place, from this space of using your evolved higher brain, you get to decide what kind of thoughts you want to keep and what kind of thoughts you want to let go of. So imagine that, like, it's as easy as just saying, like, you know what, this is my mind space. If there's negative thoughts, like, I can hear I could see the negative people lining up outside the hotel, but I'm not going to let them in. Like, if you use that imagery, like, if you could imagine, like, you have your beautiful hotel. Like, I love the Renaissance Legacy Hotel in Texas. It's such a beautiful contemporary hotel. Like, think about the beautiful hotel exterior. And then you think about the people lining outside waiting to go into the hotel. But the thing is, they could be waiting there. You could hear negative thoughts coming up for you, but you don't have to accept that as your truth. Instead, your power comes from hearing the thoughts, observing that they're there, but not putting any attachment to it and not allowing those thoughts to enter your mind space. Instead, you could think more consistent, useful, curious, and positive thoughts which are basically the kind of thoughts you're welcoming into your space. Think about the kind of people you would want to welcome into your home or into your space, like people you look up to. Like, who's a hero or an idol that you have or a mentor you have? Like, those are the kind of people you want to hang out with, right? Like, consistently. Like, think about people like Michelle Obama or people like even Rosa Parks or people like Mother Teresa who have impacted history because they had great ideas, because they were innovators, and because they were not afraid to stand up for what they believe in. Like, those are the kind of thoughts about yourself that you can keep in your mind consistently. So instead of thinking to yourself things like, why is everything so terrible? Instead of continuing to believe that path, like, why is everything so hard? You can choose to believe differently about yourself, like from a neutral and curious place. Like, you could house thoughts that are nourishing, thoughts that are rich, and thoughts that are useful to you and inspiring to you. All right, so it could be any thoughts that have to do, again, with curiosity and problem solving. Like, I saw that last week that I ate this food and I gained this amount of pounds. So this week I'm going to do this differently. Or, you know what? This is the number on the scale today. I can't change it, but I can change what I'll do from this point forward. Right? Like, you see the difference in how when you take judgment out of your thoughts, it just feels so much better. And these are the thoughts that you could continue to cultivate regularly and house in your mind space. So again, to wrap up the exercise, I want you to think about a hotel in your mind and imagine you going through the hotel. Think about where you are right now first, before you change it. Just think about where you are right now. Like, how many rooms are full of negative thoughts? And how many rooms are actually full of positive, loving, and compassionate thoughts? Okay, think about the percentage. And now, when you look at that, ask yourself, what kind of thoughts do I want to have consistently? How many spaces in my mind hotel do I want to house with negative thoughts, And how many spaces do I want to house with positive thoughts? Like, it's your choice. Okay? And an easy way to do this if you're not really sure how to reframe your thinking is just to have appreciation and gratitude for yourself and to be compassionate for yourself. Like, to just think about yourself in a more compassionate way instead of judgmental. Like, you know what? Like, I'm learning, I'm growing, and I'm taking things step by step. Instead of like, I'm a failure, I'm stupid, I'm horrible. Right? Like, so before I leave, the question I want you to answer in the comments section below is I want you to ask yourself, what is one self-limiting belief about yourself that you want to let go from your life? Because your ability to let go of all those negative self-limiting beliefs from your mind hotel is what will help you grow and ultimately help you feel better about yourself, your work, and your life. All right, so that's my empowering question for day number 3. Clean up your mind space. Let me know if you have any questions. Post your answer in the comments section below to be officially entered in the challenge. And I will see you guys again tomorrow.